This marks the seventh part of this manhwa. If you haven't viewed the previous parts, you can access them by clicking the I button located above, or the link is provided in the description. Let's aim for 400 likes on today's video. To show your support, consider subscribing to the channel. Let's begin our recap video for today's manhwa. Cecilia explained to Lord Vivien that unfortunate circumstances had delayed her arrival. Lord Vivien acknowledged this, but expressed dissatisfaction with the delay, though she decided to overlook it because Cecilia had brought them with her. Aaron, puzzled by the reference to them, was unsure about the context. Lord Vivien then addressed Aaron directly, asking if he had a problem. Aaron quickly reassured her that he didn't, while reflecting that, given her divine status, he had expected Lord Vivien to exude a more mythical presence. He then realized that she might be able to read minds. At that moment, Kindness bowed to Lord Vivien and asked for the reason behind their summoning. Lord Vivien gave him an irritated look and, telepathically, chastised him for his impatience, instructing him to wait. Nervously, Kindness agreed. Lord Vivien then instructed Aaron to close his eyes and took both of his hands, surrounding herself and Aaron in her aura. They instantly vanished from Kindness and Cecilia's view. When Aaron opened his eyes, he found himself and Lord Vivien on a mountain behind the temple. Lord Vivien reassured him not to worry about falling and asked if he understood the reason for their meeting. Aaron admitted he was unsure. Lord Vivien remarked that everything in the world has a reason, using this to justify her actions as she kicked a massive boulder off the mountain. Aaron, alarmed, watched as the boulder rolled toward the temple where Kindness and Cecilia were. The boulder crashed into the temple, destroying it and sending dust into the air. Aaron, anxious and worried for Kindness and Cecilia, questioned Lord Vivien's morality, asking if it was appropriate for a god to play with people's lives. Lord Vivien denied any wrongdoing, instead pointing to the boulder, which had inexplicably reappeared in the spot where the boulder had been. Aaron, surprised, tried to see what was happening at the temple below. Lord Vivien assured Aaron that the temple was intact and that Kindness and Cecilia were safe, explaining that the boulder was meant to be a metaphor. The boulder represented a threat, Zerone, and the temple symbolized the Brahn territory. Aaron was taken aback, realizing that Gayle was a name he used in his past life before his regression. He began to question the significance of his rebirth as Duke Aaron and the role Lord Vivien played in it. Lord Vivien told Aaron that everything has a reason, including why she saved him and that he has a destiny to fulfill. When Aaron asked for clarification about this destiny, Lord Vivien encouraged him to live his life fully to understand it. Frustrated, Aaron questioned the purpose of being given information he couldn't grasp and inquired about the whereabouts of Duke Aaron. Lord Vivien, after a moment of silence, told Aaron that he would eventually meet Duke Aaron on his journey, though he wouldn't appear as Aaron remembered. Confused, Aaron asked for clarification. Lord Vivien then abruptly shoved Aaron off the mountain, leaving him plummeting and screaming in shock. Aaron soon lay unconscious on the ground, where Cecilia and Kindness frantically tried to wake him up. He eventually awoke with a start, and Cecilia, anxious, asked if he was okay. Aaron, disoriented, questioned his location and why they were in front of the temple. He then urgently asked about Lord Vivien's whereabouts. Cecilia explained that they hadn't met Lord Vivien, suggesting it wasn't the right time for such a meeting. Aaron, bewildered, insisted that they had entered the temple and encountered someone who looked like Cecilia. Cecilia reassured him that they had been at the front of the temple the entire time. Shocked and confused, Aaron tried to make sense of the situation. Cecilia, acknowledging Lord Vivien's refusal to meet them, suggested they hope for another opportunity in the future. The group then mounted their horses and began to return. Kindness, feeling anxious, wondered if the inability of humans to remember things was related to their nature. He remembered Lord Vivien's earlier warning that he would be punished for his deep involvement in the human world. He would lose the ability to cast magic while in his human form, with severe pain as the consequence for defying this rule. Kindness regretted coming for mere entertainment and now feared for his life, questioning how he would handle the unfolding events. Meanwhile, in the imperial capital of Jarvan, a group of beggars sat along the roadside. One of the beggars, with a bandaged head, pleaded for help, asking for any money for his starving family. Another beggar, wearing a black cape, requested leftover bread instead of money. The third beggar remained silent, focused on Duke Raynon's departing carriage. Inside the carriage, Duke Raynon reflected on Duke Aaron's recent victory over the Holy Nation and the consequent territorial expansion. He also considered the implications for Duke Aaron, suggesting the Emperor might turn his attention to him. Suddenly, the carriage came to a halt, causing Duke Raynon to fall. He looked out and demanded to know what was happening. The coachman, unable to hear him clearly, yelled at someone blocking the way. When Duke Raynon repeated his question, the coachman explained that the beggar claimed to be Duke Aaron. Shocked, Duke Raynon stared at the beggar in disbelief. The former Duke Aaron, now a beggar, recounted his story to Duke Raynon. He revealed that he was killed by Emperor Zerone 20 years ago, but had somehow returned to life. Duke Raynon, a relative of the royal family and a loyal supporter of the previous emperor, struggled to believe this extraordinary tale. The beggar explained that he sought out Raynon because he might trust him, given their shared history. To further prove his identity, the beggar removed his cape to show his changed appearance from when he was Duke Aaron. The beggar was forcibly removed from the carriage by the coachman, who angrily berated and spat on him, accusing him of lying to nobles. Despite this harsh treatment, the beggar continued to plead his case to Duke Raynon, insisting he was telling the truth. Duke Raynon, after a moment of consideration, decided to return to his state and left the beggar behind. As the carriage drove away, the beggar reflected on his situation, acknowledging his own doubts about his story and realizing that gaining Raynon's trust would be difficult. He was determined not to repeat past mistakes and felt that the promise made to his father was now irrelevant. He resolved to focus all his efforts on attacking the emperor as his top priority. Despite lacking the dragon's blessing, his duke title, and having nothing, he recognized the need to focus on gaining power and growing stronger first. Bianca was frustrated about the lack of new recruits for expanding the Brand territory's influence and felt that recruiting was her primary responsibility. She demanded to know why no one was joining, realizing that the low pay, only 2 gold per month, might be the issue. This amount was insufficient as it couldn't even cover the cost of basic necessities like bread. Bianca was outraged by the inadequate pay and destroyed the recruitment board in anger. The vice commander was impressed by her passionate response, while Cecilia felt anxious witnessing Bianca's fury. From a distance, Aaron inquired if there was a problem with the pay estimate, which should be consistent with previous rates. Kindness directed him to observe the people loitering near the stall without making it obvious. Aaron noticed 2 individuals watching them, and Kindness explained that they were spies hired by the Emperor to monitor their activities more closely after their recent victory. Aaron realized this was a deliberate distraction to mislead the spies and asked about the status of the troops. Kindness confirmed that, despite official restrictions on recruiting, they could unofficially gather around 10,000 men. Aaron was surprised by this number. Kindness explained that they had discovered a hidden city beneath Blanche Castle where followers of Vivien had taken refuge from the followers of Paris. Knight Commander Rommel was expected to be recruiting troops for the Brand territory with a monthly pay of 10 gold. Aaron considered this pay rate ideal for organizing a defense squad and asked if everything was going well. Kindness acknowledged that the 10,000 men would be sufficient to defend Blanche Castle and the surrounding area, but stressed the need for a larger force of 50,000 to protect their territories effectively. Aaron was frustrated, questioning how they could achieve this and lamenting the cost of replenishing their troops. He feared that without significant resources, they might end up as a powerless territory despite their victories. Kindness pointed out that they were vulnerable to potential attacks from the Holy Nation and were lacking in economic and military strength. He emphasized that their best option was to focus on generating money to recruit more soldiers. Aaron suggested taking a break for the day and returning to Bran Castle to strategize on how to earn more money. Meanwhile, at the outer wall of Blanche Castle, a woman in Grim Moria's carriage remarked on the castle's damaged state, implying a fierce battle had taken place. Grim Moria commented that Duke Aaron, known for being relentless against his enemies, was capable of such damage. The woman wondered if Duke Aaron ruled through fear, as the stories suggest. Grim Moria confirmed that this is his reputation in the Western continent. The woman expressed that this perspective made the situation more intriguing for her. In the conference room at Blanche Castle, the woman and Grim Moria joined Aaron and Canis. The woman didn't introduce herself and stated that she was there to see the ruler of the North. Aaron questioned this title, and she responded by highlighting his achievements and conquests from the Holy Nation, implying that he deserved such a title. Annoyed, Aaron told her to get to the point. She began to talk about merchants seeking profit, but was interrupted when Aaron drew his sword and pointed it at her, threatening her to stop wasting his time with her irrelevant talk. Grim Moria gave Aaron a thumbs up, thinking that using the rumors about Aaron to their advantage could be beneficial during negotiations. Aaron then demanded to know the purpose of their visit and insisted on revealing the woman's identity. She removed her mask and introduced herself as Princess Luvia of the Samad Kingdom, an island nation between the central and western continents. Despite its small size, Samad Kingdom controls a significant portion of the trade between these continents, and Princess Luvia leads the most influential trade group in the kingdom. She came with a business proposal. Aaron thought about the Samad Kingdom and its fate in the upcoming conquest of the western continent in 10 years. He then invited Princess Luvia to present her business proposal. Luvia proposed building a storage area for goods coming from the western continent. Aaron found this unusual and asked if they hadn't had such a facility before. Luvia explained that while the castle was under the control of the Holy Nation, they had been unable to secure approval to build a storage area because the Holy Nation viewed them as heretics. Aaron understood that since ownership of the castle had changed, Princess Luvia wanted approval for her proposal to build a storage area. Luvia confirmed this with a nod. Aaron then inquired about what she could offer in return. Luvia promised that with more trade goods passing through the area, they would have the opportunity to collect more taxes. Aaron's demeanor shifted to seriousness, and he indicated he needed to rest, instructing Canis to see the guests out. As Aaron began to leave, Luvia, flustered, abruptly mentioned holy water. Aaron was puzzled by this sudden statement and asked for clarification. Luvia then specified that while the current tax rate was 15%, she was proposing that, in exchange for increasing the tax rate to 20% on their trade goods, she wanted control over the distribution of holy water. Aaron, still confused, asked for further details about this request. Luvia began by asking if Aaron knew about Gerald the Adventurer. Aaron responded with surprise, recognizing the name but not immediately recalling why it was familiar. Canis reminded Aaron that Gerald was the first adventurer they encountered at the shrine of Etun. Luvia explained that she had asked Gerald to locate holy water because they had been unsuccessful in finding effective medicine from the west and central continents for her father's condition. Holy water was the only remedy that had helped. However, they later discovered that this holy water was produced by the Order of Vivien, which led her to look toward Grim Moria. Aaron, realizing that Grim Moria must have disclosed confidential information about the holy water, became visibly upset. He was frustrated because he believed that all information regarding the holy water was meant to be kept strictly confidential. Aaron, after a deep sigh, asked Luvia if her intention behind wanting control over the holy water was to sell it in the central continent. Luvia clarified that this was not her aim. Instead, she believed that the decision to withhold distribution of the holy water was connected to Aaron's complex relationship with the Emperor. She proposed that by gaining control over the distribution within the Western continent, they could support the war efforts against the Emperor and ultimately weaken his forces. Canis then advised Aaron that while Luvia's offer could potentially provide significant funds, it might be more prudent not to grant her control over the distribution. He suggested that it would be more advantageous for them to manage the distribution directly rather than delegating it to Luvia. Aaron reflected that, while selling holy water to the central continent would be more profitable, he was concerned that it might end up in the hands of soldiers in the Emperor's army. This was why he had limited the supply outside their territory. He acknowledged Luvia's keen market insight and negotiation skills, which made her capable of persuading anyone. Despite this, Aaron was troubled by the prospect of mass destruction looming over her country and felt a strong inclination to prevent it. Aaron then agreed to grant Luvia control over the holy water. However, he stipulated that if it was discovered that the holy water was distributed to the central continent, their agreement would be nullified. Canis, worried about the implications, called out to Aaron. Aaron instructed him to draft the contract by the end of the day. Canis, though disappointed, agreed to the task. Luvia made an unusual hand gesture as she thanked Aaron for accepting her request and wished them both good luck. Aaron, not recognizing the gesture, imitated it and responded with uncertainty, wishing her the same. Luvia then explained that the gesture signified that she had nothing to hide and was offering everything she had. She confirmed that Aaron's understanding of the gesture was correct before leaving the meeting room. Once Luvia had departed, Canis turned to Aaron, expressing his respect for Aaron's decision, but voicing concern that granting a merchant control over the distribution of holy water seemed like a hasty choice. Aaron acknowledged the validity of this concern, but explained that the need to raise 50,000 men for the Brand territory left them with few options for generating funds. He insisted that this decision was not just about money, but also about saving many lives, even if Kynes didn't fully understand the situation. Aaron then inquired about Grim Moria's presence, questioning whether Moria's visit was solely to introduce Luvia. Grim Moria immediately pulled out pepper shakers from his pocket and placed them on the table, asking if Aaron and Kynes had heard of black gold. Both Aaron and Kynes were confused and inquired about what black gold was. Grim Moria demonstrated by spinning the pepper shakers, causing a black powder to be sprayed onto his hand. He then offered his hand to Aaron to smell. Aaron took the powder and, upon smelling it, immediately sneezed and became irritated, questioning what kind of gold this was. Grim Moria explained that the reaction was common and that, although it wasn't gold, the powder's aroma changed significantly when used in cooking, such as in soups or on meat, and it was also effective for preserving meat. Aaron, seeking clarification, asked what Grim Moria wanted. Before Moria could answer, Kynes interjected, identifying the source of the black gold as the Black Continent. Aaron, surprised, asked for more details about the Black Continent. Grim Moria confirmed that the black gold originated from the mysterious land described in stories, but clarified that the actual source is the East Continent. He mentioned that Kynes seemed to be aware of this, Kynes explaining that rumors suggest one could reach the East Continent by sailing east from the Central Continent for about a month. However, a great monster, believed to be the sea dragon Leviathan, prevents anyone from approaching the East Continent, adding to its mystique. Aaron inquired about how Grim Moria obtained the black gold. Moria explained that he acquired it from the black market in the Rumian kingdom. According to stories, the black gold was retrieved from an abandoned boat off the shores of Rumian. Moria admitted that the condition of the goods was poor. Aaron caught on to Grim Moria's point and pressed him for more information, to which Moria responded that the black gold was contained in an unfamiliar box. Since it was found on the eastern shores near the Rumian kingdom, it was concluded to be from the Black Continent. Aaron then turned to Kynes and instructed him to gather more information about the Black Continent, whether through books, rumors, or finding someone originally from there. He emphasized that any information would be valuable. Kynes agreed, noting that while it might take some time, he would do his best to uncover more details. That night, Kynes sent a pigeon with a letter to Keshi requesting as many clues as possible about the Black Continent and to bring them to Brahn Castle. Kynes lamented that if he could use magic, he would have flown there himself. He then expressed a wish to return to his nest, looking up at the sky and silently appealing to Lord Vivien. He briefly looked at the sky, then turned around and thought about her stubbornness. 2 months later, in the meeting room, Cain was visibly trembling while looking at a document. Aaron noticed Cain's distress and asked, puzzled, why he appeared so shaken. Cain, initially somber, declared that he felt it was his time to die. Aaron was further confused by this statement. However, Cain then leaped up with joy, exclaiming that they had made millions from the holy water, which was more money than he had ever seen before. Aaron inquired about how this amount differed from the funds he had received after the war. Cain, in frustration, emphasized that the funds from the holy water were a monthly profit, not a one-time sum. He stressed the significance of a consistent revenue stream and how it was crucial for financial stability. Aaron asked if the recent financial gains from the holy water would be sufficient to gather more troops. Cain responded sharply, pointing out the substantial expenses involved in paving the roads to Blanche Castle and questioning the need for additional troops when they had already assembled 10,000 soldiers recently. Aaron explained that the expenditures were for ensuring the security of the new road. Cain countered that attempting to gather more troops at this time would compromise their ability to maintain the territory. Disappointed, Aaron decided to take on a patrol of the land himself. After inspecting the road for a while, he turned to Kynes, who was following behind, and asked if the current condition of the road was satisfactory. Kynes praised the progress made, acknowledging that Cain had indeed been the right choice for the job. Aaron then asked Kynes whether it was feasible to raise 50,000 men. After a brief pause, Kynes explained that, given their current situation, such an endeavor would cause a significant economic strain on their territory. Aaron, realizing that Cain was not exaggerating, conceded that the concerns were valid. However, Kynes noted that while it might be challenging, it was not entirely impossible. Kynes then presented a book titled The Mystery of Blackland, which surprised Aaron. Kynes continued by outlining a plan to build an army under the control of the Brand territory, but based on a different continent. In Aaron's office, he contemplated the idea of establishing a vassal state on a different continent, particularly the mysterious Black Continent. Given the significant funds required for their territory, he saw this as a prime opportunity. However, he was concerned about whether the potential value justified leaving their current territory and embarking on such a journey, fearing it could be a complete waste. As he began reading the book Kindness had given him, he encountered a preface from the author, who described being labeled as crazy or insane by others. The author recounted how, during the 10 years he was missing, even his own family considered him mad due to his obsession with the Black Continent. Despite the rejection and skepticism from those around him, he persisted in sharing his findings and chose to document his experiences for future readers who might seek the truth. Aaron pondered the author's claim about the truth as he continued reading. The author recounted spending 10 years as a slave on the Black Continent, where he encountered valuable items, spices, and unique jewels not found on the Central Continent. He noted the absence of common magicians and suggested that an armed force of 10,000 men from the Central Continent could easily conquer the Black Continent. The author dismissed the old belief in a flat world with an edge, stating that overcoming this misconception would allow one to reach the Black Continent. He warned, however, about a dangerous sea monster that had prevented him from proving the Black Continent's existence. Aaron, troubled by the mention of a sea monster but determined not to miss this opportunity, resolved to take action. He placed pepper shakers on the table, indicating that he had made up his mind to proceed with the plan. Aaron ordered a meal and sprinkled the black gold onto it. As he ate, he felt a growing sense of unease, but dismissed it, wondering about the worst-case scenario. To his surprise, the taste was astonishingly good, which shocked him. Later, Aaron summoned Kindness and asked about the requirements for reaching the Black Continent. Kindness, initially confused by the question, clarified that they would need a port to cross the sea. A few weeks later, Aaron stood on the castle wall, contemplating that, to reach the Black Continent, they would need to attack the Rumian kingdom, located to the east. He addressed the gathered crowd below, announcing that he had some unfortunate news to share with them. As Aaron announced the unfortunate news, the crowd began to murmur among themselves. The first person questioned the meaning of the news, while the second feared it might involve another monster from the Black Forest. The third person advised against spreading such ominous news, worried it might bring bad luck. Aaron thought about the lack of a legitimate reason for attacking the Rumian kingdom. He then addressed the crowd, claiming that the Rumian kingdom had abused followers of Vivien, which stirred the crowd's anger. They reacted with outrage, denouncing the Paris believers, and recalling that the Holy Nation had also attempted to attack them. Aaron considered the situation and realized that without a clear and convincing reason to present to the Empire, they would face resistance since the Empire would likely protect the Rumian kingdom. Additionally, given the shortage of troops for the expedition, Aaron planned to mobilize defense squadrons from the cities and involve the citizens in the defense efforts. Aaron announced to the crowd that the Rumian kingdom had abused and enslaved their fellow followers, which elicited a strong reaction. He thought that, since they needed time to reorganize their troops, it would be wise to negotiate with the Rumian kingdom to establish a definitive reason for war. Aaron declared that he, as the leader of the territory, would personally negotiate with the Rumian kingdom and promised to bring back their enslaved brethren. This declaration sparked enthusiasm among the crowd, who began chanting for an attack on the Rumian kingdom to rescue their fellow followers. As Aaron descended from the wall, Kindness greeted him, praising his speech. Aaron questioned whether the speech was effective enough. Cain, visibly angry, approached Aaron and questioned whether he was planning another war, noting the recent calmness. Aaron quickly silenced Cain by placing his hand over his mouth and told him he would explain the details later. He asked Cain to prepare armor for the troops. Cain, surprised, questioned the need for more armor, pointing out that they had already purchased a significant amount when gathering troops. In response, Aaron placed a piece of meat coated with black gold in Cain's mouth. Initially, Cain was puzzled by the gesture, but after tasting the meat, he was astonished by its flavor. Aaron explained that this remarkable taste was the reason they needed to attack the Rumian kingdom. Cain, still taken aback, asked if the flavor was really the reason for the planned attack. Aaron reiterated his request, insisting that Cain prepare the armor. Cain, excited by the potential financial gains, exclaimed that he could already taste the money and began dancing with enthusiasm. Aaron and Kindness attempted to leave quickly, but Cain stopped them and approached, asking how much armor they would need. Aaron, puzzled and slightly frightened by Kane's intensity, asked what was wrong. Kane responded by asking for the exact amount of armor required. He then provided context about the Rumian kingdom, describing it as a small kingdom on the eastern edge of the central continent and a dependent state of the empire. Despite its size, the kingdom has significant economic influence due to its control over much of the trade. He highlighted its wealth and the extravagant nature of its residents, noting that even the kingdom's dogs are reputed to wear gold. At that moment, a messenger arrived at the Rumian kingdom with a message announcing that the castle gates should be opened. King Niccolo II of Rumian was walking down a hallway with his knight when he inquired about the reason for the visit from the empire. The knight explained that the visitors were not from the royal palace, but were sent by Duke Aaron. The king was surprised, recognizing Duke Aaron as the leader who had recently waged war against the Paris Holy Nation. He wondered why the duke himself was making the trip. The knight clarified that Duke Aaron's visit was to request the return of his subjects. The king was taken aback, questioning if they were holding the empire's subjects captive. The knight revealed that the subjects in question were followers of Vivien, some of whom were being prosecuted and had been forced into slavery. The duke's request was to have all these individuals returned to their homeland. As King Niccolo II and his knight approached the meeting room, the knight opened the door to a chaotic scene. Inside, the attendees were engaged in a heated argument. One participant, frustrated and aggressive, demanded if the other was intending to use violence instead of negotiating. Another person, wearing a hat, accused the others of using the followers of Vivien as a pretext to extort money and advocated for seizing more prisoners to make a point. Amid the discord, a figure with silver-white hair warned that any aggressive actions would be interpreted as a declaration of war against the empire. This individual expressed grave concern that such actions would lead to the destruction of this nation. Seeing the turmoil inside the meeting room, King Niccolo II expressed his frustration, questioning what actions he should take to resolve the situation. A while later, Duke Aaron arrived at the gates of the Rumian kingdom. Observing the ornate decorations on the castle walls, Aaron remarked on their apparent wealth. Kynes noted that despite the decoration, the walls lacked defensive spells and were more accurately described as simple stone walls. Aaron, growing impatient, complained about the delay and the lack of respect he felt he was receiving. Just then, the gates opened, and the cavalry knights of the Rumian kingdom swiftly emerged, surrounding Aaron and Kynes. The commander of the cavalry knights, seeing the tension, sighed and ordered his troops to halt. Duke Aaron, observing the aggressive reception, wondered if it was too extreme for envoys. The commander then addressed Aaron, asking if he was indeed Duke Aaron of the Empire and Brand territory. Aaron confirmed his identity. The commander requested Aaron to show his seal, which puzzled Aaron. The commander explained that Duke Aaron always carries a seal as proof of identity. Still confused, Aaron asked if he was supposed to carry a seal. The commander, realizing Aaron did not have the seal, accused him of impersonating Duke Aaron and trying to incite trouble between the Rumian kingdom and the empire. He then commanded his knights to draw their swords and clear Aaron and his party out. Aaron protested, claiming ignorance about the seal and denying the accusation of impersonation. The commander, with a smirk, revealed that Duke Aaron had already passed through the kingdom's gates, leaving Aaron and Kynes stunned by the unexpected revelation. Soon after, Duke Aaron and Kynes found themselves locked in a prison cell by a knight. Aaron, frustrated and desperate, repeatedly asserted his true identity, demanding to be released. The knight, unconcerned, told Aaron to relax, suggesting that he would have plenty of time to enjoy his role as an impostor before being put to work as a slave. Aaron, shocked by the mention of slavery, could hardly believe what he was hearing. Meanwhile, in the meeting room, King Niccolo II expressed his gratitude for capturing the impostors, thanking Duke Aaron for his assistance. Rex, who was impersonating Duke Aaron, responded with false modesty, claiming the efforts were for the benefit of both the Empire and the Rumian kingdom. He shifted the credit to Kynes, who was also an impostor, highlighting his role in tracking down the false Duke Aaron. The fake Kynes added that it was the impostor's own fault for attempting to impersonate Duke Aaron without the proper seal, further solidifying their deception. King Niccolo II praised Rex and Kynes for their skills and humility, noting the advantage of working with someone so close to the throne. Rex then inquired about the fate of the impostors. The king explained that Due to a shortage of labor, criminals in the Rumian kingdom are typically subjected to forced slave labor, which would likely be the impostor's fate. Rex, however, deemed slave labor too lenient for the crime of impersonating high-ranking figures from the empire and suggested execution as a more fitting punishment. The king was surprised by this proposal. Rex stated that given their week-long stay in the Rumian kingdom, he would prefer to witness the executions before departing. The king expressed concern that executing prisoners could lead to riots, as executions had not been carried out in the kingdom for some time due to its small population. After considering Rex's request, the king agreed to fulfill it but requested something in return. Rex invited the king to make his request. The king told Rex that if he withdrew his request to remove the followers of Vivien from the Rumian kingdom, he would agree to the execution proposal immediately. A few days later, a crowd, including the king and Rex, gathered at the execution site to witness the event. Grim Moria arrived at the scene and bowed before King Niccolo II, greeting him formally. The king acknowledged Grim Moria's presence and inquired about his recent activities. Grim Moria reported that he had successfully established a small currency exchange office within the Rumian kingdom, attributing its success to the king's support. The king complimented Grim Moria on his swift and effective work in facilitating currency access for the kingdom, praising his success. Grim Moria thanked the king and expressed his hope that the king would enjoy his conversation before departing. As King Niccolo II gave his approval, he stepped away from the scene, noticing Rex seated beside him in attire resembling that of Duke Aaron. Curiosity about Rex's true identity grew as he moved towards his seat. The announcer began the proceedings, capturing everyone's attention, including Grim Moria. The announcer stated that the trial was about to start and listed the charges against the criminals, attempting to deceive the king and damaging relations between the Rumian kingdom and the empire. Consequently, King Niccolo II sentenced the accused to death. As the covering cloths were removed from Aaron and Cainus, the announcer allowed them to make their final statements. Aaron, looking up to the sky, proclaimed loudly, "I am a noble of the empire, the sole owner of the Brand territory. I am Duke Aaron." Upon hearing Aaron's declaration, Grim Moria was shocked to recognize that the person about to be executed was indeed Duke Aaron. Alarmed, Grim Moria shouted, questioning why Duke Aaron was being executed. The king, surprised by Grim Moria's outburst, asked him why he was asserting that the individual was Duke Aaron. Grim Moria urgently requested to know why Duke Aaron was on trial. The king, noting Grim Moria's genuine concern and the sincerity in his eyes, began to suspect the possibility that Aaron was truly who he claimed to be. Realizing the gravity of the situation, the king quickly turned to address Rex, who had been seated next to him. However, Rex had already departed, having fled when he realized his deception had been uncovered. The king was left staring at an empty chair, puzzled by Rex's sudden disappearance. This marks the conclusion of the 7th part of this manhwa. To show your support for the channel and help speed up the release of recaps for your favorite manhwa, please consider subscribing to the channel. Looking forward to seeing you in the next video.